It's always a good sign when the game director is just, locking down their X account a week before the game they directed comes out, right? It's always a good sign. Now, Corinne Bush is also someone who is an ideologue. We know this before that this person shut down their X account. They were posting things that were very pro-trans, very pro-alternative lifestyle. However, YouTube will allow me to describe it without demonetizing the video. You know how it works. But what's curious about this is that it may also have come on the heels of them handing out review codes to people who simply claim that they're non-binary. This woman's name is Natalia rather, and she speaks Spanish and I do not. So we're going to have to rely on Google Translate here because I don't want to ping pong between translators. It just takes up too much time. So here we are. She says, guess who got a review code from Dragon Age the Veilguard? Bioware just sold their soul to the devil. I just had to say, all I had to say was that I'm a non-binary woman and they gave the review code to me. Get ready for the mega review soon or tomorrow. Now, Natalia was kind enough to simply play the game for 3.5 hours after she got her review code. Because, I guess, as you do on a Sunday, right? As you do, you get some chips and you sit down and you find out that there's terrible graphics, that the combat is boring and monotonous, and they want to copy God of War. We heard about the rage meter being a new thing that's part of the combat, so I'm guessing that's part of it, but it also still feels like, a bit of one of those RPG fighters where the characters are a little numb to control. They're not like, you press X and trigger and stuff like that. But we'll have to find out when it fully comes out or when more of Natalia's review comes out. She says, the game does not run at a constant 30 FPS. It drops and the screen freezes when there are too many NPCs. So we saw this with Veilguard's playthrough of Unknown 9, that big outdoor market space where everyone was talking. Veilguard was going around listening to these people. But what I noticed in that footage was that they weren't moving when she was at a distance. When she got up on them, they were making very minor movements to explain why they weren't moving at a distance, but are now when you're close up on them. There was all sorts of surround sound, so you could hear where the conversations were coming from, but the people themselves were not moving. They were statuesque, frozen in space and time until you got up on them, and then they would start moving a little bit. There might be a character in the further distance render that walks through or back and forth or whatever. But that's about it. There isn't a general movement of the populace. You'll note in Ubisoft games, like Assassin's Creed, the crowds are always sort of mingling all over the place, and there's vehicles moving through and birds flying. There's just the environment is very alive. And this apparently does not do that very well without crashing the game or making the experience rather very difficult. So you have to ask, what kind of PC do you need in order to play Veilguard, huh? So here we are. Many of the dialogues are noticeably made by AI. Now, I can't confirm that because, as you know, the people who made AI speak like AI, right? It doesn't learn that language all on its own. It has to be told to speak with that kind of cleansed language. And when you listen to how corporates talk to each other these days, it sounds pretty robotic. It sounds scrubbed of all humanity. So I can't say that that's AI. It may have been repaired by AI. It may have been filtered by AI, but I can't say that entirely because I know who makes the AI, if you will. And those people talk like it. So we can't rule out that that's an actual human being behind that talking like a robot because that's all they're allowed to do. Toxic positivity, as you know. So here we go. It's very linear. The game's very linear. The options lead nowhere. It's like a false free will thing. We saw this in some of the review footage that's come out where they have a conversation with Ta'ash, I think her name is, the companion that kind of looks like a demon goat woman creature. That companion is apparently like a non-binary character and goes on to describe not feeling like a man or a woman in their own flesh. But the problem is that this character is not a human. So it's like, what are you talking about? You don't have a gender equivalent in your species. You just were like, yeah, that is man, woman. We'll just take that from the humans. A species that as older than humans. Like I'm not big on Dragon Age, don't get me wrong. I'm not a huge Dragon Age guy. I've watched my friends play through it and stuff like that. Again, I'm the guy that likes to watch the playthroughs. I really enjoy how the game is executed. I enjoy the cinematics. I enjoy my friends falling off of cliffs, losing to enemies, breaking their controllers in frustration. Yeah, if you're familiar with Game Grumps, I'm more Dan than Aaron, okay? I'm the guy on the couch that's like, whoa, buddy, you need to take a breather there, huh? You eat some water? You could have the angry farts? You know, I'm that guy. I'm usually not the guy that's in the guts of the game when it's playtime, right? I like to watch other people go ahead and enjoy the experience of being smashed to pieces by those Zelda bosses, you know? But apparently none of that happens in this game. The creator of characters, so the character creation thing, is focused on trans and the LGBT community. So, as usual, if you don't fit into that binary, you're not going to have a good time. So, as you know, again, so Natalia was not able to go and create a voluptuous character as we were shown in the character creation demos that came out. But they were very well able to cross the appearance of these characters to make them look androgynous. Been a while since you've heard that word, right? Don't hear that one too much anymore. They want you to pick a side these days. They don't want you to be in the middle, I guess. So, is inclusive language, Spanish in subtitles, which again, I wonder what that looks like. So I'll have to wait to see what Natalia has to say about that because Spanish is a gendered language. Words, places, locations, verbs all have a gender to them if they're being used in the context where a man or a woman is the subject of that, you know, topic, I guess. So unlike English, where if you simply inflect your voice the right way in a contextual sense, most people know what you mean. Like English is one of those languages where you can just drop a Japanese word in the middle of an English sentence, and people are like, I don't know that word, but I understand its meaning as it's applied in this sentence. Because English is constantly mutating, whereas other languages don't typically do that as comfortably. And Spanish is one of those because Spanish, as I said, is a gendered language, and so you can't go inventing they, them pronouns and playing around with pronouns and inventing more pronouns like zim-zer and zem and all these other things because it doesn't work. It starts erode. You can't have the language anymore. It's not the language that's been spoken since the founding of these nations. So the characters move very robotic. We heard about this. The animations are very simplistic. They don't, there's not a lot of human motion in them. And so the script doesn't make sense. Neither do the quests from one place to another, killing lots of bugs. And, you know, we see this again. Like the only thing that's really permitted is just gratuitous amounts of violence. That's the only thing that's really allowed in games and movies and stories anymore is just gratuitous amounts of violence. Which again, I mean, like, that's great and all, but in an RPG, like, you know, there is a role to play that isn't just, you know, bug blender. You know, if that's your thing, great. There's Gears of War. You can play a bug blender that's got a really cool story, right? But I don't know about this one. And so there's too much focus on homosexuality, lesbians, and I assume people, she means like trans and people who cross-dress, this sort of thing when she says drags. I don't could be a special word in Spanish that kind of encapsulates all of those people outside of lesbians. So I don't know. And I wonder if like her experience was made to feel very lesbian centric because she entered her gender as female, right? The player gender. So I wonder if maybe, or maybe non-binary perhaps, I'm not sure. But it would be very curious. I'd be curious to know what a male player goes through with this, if their journey is more gay-centric. And again, I'm not trying to be funny here, but it would be interesting to me if the game, one of the only things that was unique about it was that if you were a male player, it forced you into a pathway of confronting homosexual themes. And if you were a female player, it forced you into a pathway of confronting homosexual themes. That would be very interesting to find out. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out when Natalia returns here, because as you can see, she's got proof of playing the game. There it is, Dragon Age the Veilguard. She's even got a secret achievement. She got a game score of 15 out of 1,000, one trophy out of 52. And then technically the plan worked. 18% of gamers unlocked this. So this is still the review crew that's unlocking this. So as more people play the game after the 31st, that percentage will go up, obviously. But so there you go. That's what they're doing. All you have to do is say that you're outside of the norm, and they're more than happy to provide you with a code to play a game that looks like this. And here you have it. So, as I was saying earlier, this is Ta'ash, I think her name is. Ta'al, whatever. The goat lady. And this person is, describing not feeling comfortable in their own skin as a man, as a woman. And it's like, you're not human, right? Even if you're describing other people within your space, most likely in this setting, they're not human. So, and also, your species doesn't have male or female words. I'm still perplexed over this, right? It's still, I come back to that because it's like, look at this. These people would not have their own gender phrases, words. They wouldn't, this culture wouldn't have that. They clearly have their own fashion. So I don't know. There was a lot of thought put into something in this game, but it's not the player experience. I assure you, it's not the player experience. But as always, guys, let me know how you feel about this down in the comments below. Maybe you guys know something I don't know about this, and I'm missing some grand thing. I know that Dragon Age is always supposed to be woke and stuff like that. It's supposed to like play around with gender themes and things like that. That you can kind of create a character that's wacky and off the beaten path, and the NPCs kind of react to that. Like I've seen clips of characters saying like, "You look like a woman, but I know you as a man," that kind of stuff, and it's one of those things, it's Dragon Age is kind of known for this, but I think there's a point when you push it too far, right? It gets a little crazy. But anyway, good luck out there.